Hey guys, Mel O here from Finance is the Other F Word, and we will be taking a short break, and we will be coming back on January 18th with new music and money news as well as new episodes. In the meantime, here is an episode we recorded in September, but we never actually got to air it. And then the next 2 weeks following that, we will be releasing episodes from our archives that we have. So please take the time to go back and listen to the back catalog if you'd like. Make sure you have a brand new, shiny, happy new year, and thank you for listening.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Finances, the Other F Word. And today on the podcast, we're going to talk about some recent deaths that have happened in the music industry. And then we're going to end it on some information about this part about cancer policies and end of life insurance policies. It's so fucking damn depressing. It's like cancer policies and end of life insurance policies. It's fantastic. It's a very uplifting episode. Put your feet up.
We're gonna make it. So
yeah, drink a lot. Put your feet up, etc. But first, Zoe needs to welcome a new country.
Yes, welcome to the fold to Morocco.
Yes, I've been waiting for you, Morocco.
Yeah,
you're here.
To go to.
It sounds saucy. Like I want to. Like we're going to Morocco. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously, it sounds, I don't know. I think it sounds.
Hey, look, for those of you who are watching on video, I followed your advice and I put my feet up, and you like my socks today? They're Deadpool socks.
Oh, are they? Okay, I just saw the bottom. Marvel.
I got Deadpool socks on today. Putting my feet up like you said.
I love Deadpool.
I have just my little feeties.
Oh, here we go. She's going to start talking about how beautiful her feet
are. They are. You can't
really. Hang on. I'll join in.
Don't show us your bush. Are you going to show us your bush? Okay, she's wearing slippers.
Oh, look, Tom has to come out, apparently.
Very nice.
Slippers, basically. Of course.
Very nice. Very nice.
There it is.
Okay, and then Stormy, what else we got going on?
You know what? We are now on Patreon.
What?
Patreon. So now, for those of you that love the show, we've been asked to do Patreon. Or we said, let's do some Patreon because it's expensive putting this bitch together. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. So listen, if you want to support the show, one of the things you can do is support us on Patreon. That helps offset just some of the cost of doing the editing. And if you would not believe that my two co-hosts do not help me at all. I do all the editing, all the promotion. What else have I done? Tell me what else you guys do so I can take credit for it.
Research.
I do all the research. What else?
Thinking of ideas.
I think of ideas constantly.
Social media.
I do social media.
All of them. I
do the Twitter and all of them.
And YouTube channel.
Oh, YouTube, yes. So because I do all of that stuff, you can help us out greatly by becoming a Patreon. And we have different tiers. And let me tell you about the tiers. Hey, Mel, what are the tiers?
Yeah. So I was actually going to be pretty surprised, and then I was like, oh yeah, no. So we have 4 tiers. So we have a $3, a $5, a $10, and a $50 a month tier, and they're all on Patreon. I'm not going to bore you with how to do it, but you can find us under FTOFW. So what that means, Stormy, is
what does that mean?
Finances, the Other F Word. So you can search or FTOFW. Yes, and you can
find stand for FTOFW.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very confusing for Stormy when he remembers he's on a podcast. So yes, we are on Patreon, so please feel free to, and we're going to be doing some extra stuff. I've just uploaded on there. At some of our tiers, you get all the unedited episodes, and we talk a lot of shit before the actual recording starts rolling. So this is going to be something, a treat for you if you so want to be treated. And then we're going to have some other random segments and everything that's going to come on. And at the highest level, one of the perks that we're going to do is every 3 months we're going to send you some random fucking shit. It could be boob shots.
Ooh, can I send the boob shots?
It could
Stormy, yeah, obviously.
It could be.
Hey, we better be careful with some of these countries. We can get in a lot of trouble.
That's true.
Unless it's my boob shot.
Yeah.
It
Well,
will be a boob shot. Something like mine.
okay. Well, now nobody is going to want it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it won't be my boob shot.
Yeah.
No.
And
It will be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise,
just
right?
some miscellaneous shit. And then, of course, at all of our tier levels, we will give you a shout out on the air, and we do appreciate you guys listening. And so let's go ahead and get this episode started. And so Zoe is going to go first because she won the thumb wrestle. So go ahead, Zoe, with some recent deaths in the music industry. Horrible.
Well, obviously, being in the middle of a pandemic, we have lost, almost 200,000 people here in America alone, thousands and thousands of people around the world. And obviously, amongst all these people have been some musicians that we love. So what we all thought that we'd do is talk about a musician that we like or mean something to us that has passed recently, and just chat a bit about them. So for me, I picked Ronald Calis Bell, who is one of the co-founders of Kool and the Gang, who sadly passed away on the 9th of September 2020. He was just 68, and he passed away at his home in the Virgin Islands. And so I'm going to just chat a little bit about Kool and the Gang, because they are.
Don't say it.
Kool and the Gang. I just had to.
Why don't you just get down on it?
Get down on it.
Oh, you're so dirty. Make that one of your lines, because that could work.
Yeah.
That could work, huh?
Because that would
Okay.
make me stop and go, maybe. Even if I didn't know the guy, I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of.
Oh, maybe else I should
I-
use that.
I wouldn't walk away straight away. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So
I might stay and let you buy me a drink and be like, yeah, let's see where this goes.
And I could say, we are in September. In September.
Yeah, that wasn't Kool and the Gang.
That was
Earth, Wind, Fire.
Earth, Wind, yeah.
Wait, who was that?
Dancing in September, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh my
Dancing in
goodness, you're
September.
right. Oh, now I
Yeah.
lost you. I should have just kept my mouth shut.
All
should
right,
have.
I'll take that drink and I'll
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
But thanks
Now
for
it's
the
like,
drink anyway.
I
Yeah.
no longer want to get down on it. But the thing with Kool and the Gang, my favorite song by them is Too Hot. Oh, it's
yes,
too,
you're
hot.
too hot.
Oh my God, that song is like, hey,
That's not even
you're
on my
hot
list. I
lady.
can't believe
What? You don't have
That's
too
not on my
hot?
list.
You're
They-
fired, okay?
They also did. I think they did that instrumental that Will Smith, the Fresh Prince at the time, lifted for summertime, right? Which is
Yes,
still my
yes, they
jam.
did.
Hey,
Which
okay,
we're getting to in a
okay,
minute.
all right. Sorry, I'm all excited. Go ahead, Zoe.
I know, but that's the thing about Kool and the Gang. They have their career has spanned more than 50 years. I mean, there's not many, bands that I've seen them, but I would go back and see them. Well, if we ever can again, because they were fantastic. Anyway, so Kool and the Gang officially launched in 1969, but the band got together in 1964. And it was the brothers, Ronald Bell and Robert Kool Bell, and then a group of their friends, mostly from school, Robert Spike Mickens, Dennis D.T. Thomas, Ricky West, George Brown, and Charles Smith. And they were formed in Jersey City. They met in Jersey City, New Jersey. They were all big jazz fans. And like I said, they got together in 1964, and they went through various names before they became Kool and the Gang, including Jazzy Axe, the New Dimensions, the Soul Town Band, and then Kool and the Flames. But their manager said that could be too confused with James Brown's band, the Famous Flames, so they became Kool and the Gang. And so they were a mix of jazz, soul, and funk. And their very first album, called Kool and the Gang, was all instrumental. And they were signed to D-Light Records at the time. It came out in 1969. And they've been going ever since. They have non-stopped. They've toured. But they've had some, quiet times, but they've toured ever since. And they have 2 Grammy Awards, 7 American Music Awards, 25 top 10 R&B hits, 9 top 10 pop hits, 31 gold platinum albums. They have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They're in the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Didn't know that existed, but okay. And then they were finally inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2018.
The what Hall of Fame? The Sunlighters.
Songwriters.
Oh, songwriters. I thought you said, you Brits.
I honestly did not know they were from New Jersey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And when the brothers, Ronald and Robert Bell, they would, they were poor. Their dad was a professional boxer, and he tried to encourage them into that field, but they weren't interested. When they were, just young teenagers, they would kind of busk. I don't know what you call it here, but, sit out and just play for crowds. And they would use old paint tins as drums and stuff like that. And, but yes, that's where they were from. And they have performed continuously longer than any R&B group in history. And they are, funny that you should mention Will Smith and the sampling, they are the most sampled R&B band of all time. Wow. And in fact, they have been their music has been sampled more than
Let me guess. I want to say 74,000 times.
No. 1,700, actually 1,700 times.
I thought you were going 70. Oh, I thought that was a lot as I started saying it. I'm like, man, that's a lot.
As guys go.
1,700 times in their career.
As a guy goes, you think 1,700 means 17,000, just like 4 inches means more.
But that's a lot. And including the Will Smith that you mentioned, the horn riff from, I forget which song it was, Jungle Boogie, I think. From Jungle Boogie was sampled by Lunis for I Got 5 on It. I got 5 on it.
That is my fucking jam. Boom, boom. I swear to God, that beat is sick. And it's a long-ass song. I mean, it's like, fuck. It's a long song.
Also sampled by Madonna, but we won't mention that. And
right there, Madonna.
Public Enemy sampled 3 different Kool and the Gang songs for Fear of Black Planet, which Kool and the Gang were totally okay with and approved of and thought that was wonderful. Obviously, Jungle Boogie was in Pulp Fiction, and that kind of gave them another kind of whoop out there. Most sampled R&B band of all time. Like I said, they have toured throughout their career alongside big names like Michael Jackson, Elton John, Kid Rock, and then Van Halen.
Yep, where I saw them.
In 2012. And what made him ask them was he saw them perform at Glastonbury. Just to get it in there for you, he saw them perform at Glastonbury.
Van Halen, David Lee Roth? Okay.
He saw Kool and the Gang perform at Glastonbury.
Yeah, in 2011, and asked them to tour with him in 2012.
What's it called again? Blastonbury?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Glastonbury?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
It's all one word. Glasto.
Oh, I thought it was blast with a B.
Glastonbury.
I
don't know why it's so difficult for you to
just messing with you. It's okay, Karen.
You can't spell my name. Has my children been talking to you
for those of you, her name is not Karen. He's not saying her middle name is Karen, but it's
not Karen. It's Karen.
It's Karen. So he's not calling her a Karen.
Spell it. How do you spell?
Your middle name is Kerin.
No, it's Keren. Karen.
Yeah, Karen.
Fuck you.
That's too many. 2 E's make a short A. You know that, right? But so I saw Kool and the Gang on the Van Halen tour. I got to tell this story real quick. I was in a suite with an open bar, and I can't remember why now because I really got shit faced, and I mean the bar is literally like 4 feet away, you guys. So if you've never seen a concert in a personal suite with a fucking bar that's 4 feet away, you cannot stay sober. Okay, it's just not available. It's not an option. And I got pretty wasted and got to sit down, and Van Halen hit the stage, and they were pretty good. And David Lee Roth sounded way better than he did on his residency here by himself, which he sounded fucking awful. Look on YouTube. There's videos of it. It was awful. So anyway, good
in the Gang?
They were fantastic.
Yeah,
they were fantastic. But hardly nobody came to see him.
Oh,
that's a sad part, because I think that there's fucking Kool and the Gang, but the people that were there were super excited to see him. But it wasn't. Most of them showed up later. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that, which made me sad.
I went to see them. I couldn't even find out, because I tried to do some research as to when it would be, because my mind doesn't tell me when it was. But it must have been either the late 80s or early 90s. And I went to see it with a group of friends, Nick, Nikki, Tony, and some other people that I don't remember their names. But we went specifically to see them in the town where some of us grew up and I went to school. And one of our friends actually ended up on stage with them. And everyone was dancing. I mean, it was a fairly big-ish venue, but I touched Kool's hand. So I haven't washed it since. So that's
yeah, we've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
A little gross.
Anyway, so getting back to the Kool. Oh, by the way, and they have their own they have a website called coolandthegang.com, funnily enough. And they have, and I think this is what one of the things that Ronald Bell was working on at the time he died, little short films and that he was chronicling their early years. Anyway, it's a pretty good website. So if you're a fan, go to it. So going back to their history, their highest selling album, was Emergency from 1984, and they sold 2 million copies in the US.
Wait, their highest selling? Oh, in the US only.
In the US.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get to that. They've had 23 studio albums and 70 singles. They have sold 7.5 million albums in the US, but 70 million albums worldwide. So but they've only ever had one number one in the US. Do you know, can you guess which one it was?
Oh God, that Celebration.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Celebration was their one and only number one in the US.
Every wedding you've ever went to, or it's just like, stop, you're fucking killing me with that song. It's horrible. It's horrible because I've heard it so much.
Yeah, but it's a great song. Joanna, one of their other songs, if you remember that, was apparently the most played pop song in 1984.
Really?
Yeah. They also participated in the Do They Know It's Christmas charity single with Bob Geldof. What else can I tell you about?
I thought I said, do you know it's Christmas time? You said, that's not the name of the song. I thought the name of the song was...
Yeah, I didn't say time. I said, do they know it's Christmas?
Oh, okay. It's at the end. It's at the end. Okay.
Yeah, see what I mean? And there's no Christmases either. There's no plural.
There should be.
Yeah. No, there shouldn't. I told you about the sampling. So, and Celebration, the only number one, that was written by Robert, who's the brother that died recently. And that was his favorite song. And he predicted, apparently, that it would become an international anthem. And that was his favorite song of theirs and their signature song. So whether you like it or not, that was his favorite. And then some of the other, Ladies Night. How could we forget Ladies Night?
Yes, it's Ladies Night.
Feeling right. Yeah.
Oh, what a night.
Jungle Boogie,
what a night.
Get Down on It, Cherish. Do you remember Cherish?
Yes.
Cherish the love. I didn't like that song very much.
Yeah.
Sappy.
Hollywood Swinging, that was another.
Oh, yes. I thought it was Hollywood Swingers.
No, it's not.
Is Hollywood Swinging?
Yeah.
Isn't it Hollywood? Hollywood Swinger.
Swinging. No.
Oh, swinging. Interesting.
See all these things that I'm teaching you. And then, yeah, that's about it, really. Just that I love Kool and the Gang. They are Kool and the Gang. And, yeah, they were set to tour this year and next as well. So, anyway, that's it. That's my Kool and the Gang.
With a K.
With the K. I like Kool and the Flames.
I actually do too. When you said that, I was like, that'd be so cool.
Kool and the Flames. No, actually, I prefer
No,
Kool and the Gang.
Flames,
But
but
Kool
they
and the Flames.
James Brown's band. What did I say they're called? The Famous Flames, which I don't think it's too similar. But anyway, Kool and the Gang. It was and is and always shall be.
James Brown, I heard was kind of a dick, so it probably would have ended up turning into some type of legal battle. You know, those lawyers where they just take all your money and stuff.
Those damn lawyers.
I know.
So, Stormy, who'd you concentrate on?
Oh, was I supposed to do something?
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
We're also recording right now.
We're recording right now, huh?
Yeah.
I forget about that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I decided instead of looking for someone who recently passed, I decided to go a little bit different. What's that?
Which was the brief.
Which was the brief. That is correct, but I'm a little off. I'm a little different. Woo. Instead, I decided to go to a cold case that was recently solved.
Ooh, love it.
Oh, yes. So, growing up, when I had my Adidas.
My Adidas.
Or Adidas, as we would say.
What's that? Adidas. It was tricky. It's tricky to rock around this ride.
I don't know what I don't know.
That's right. Look at Zoe got some tricky
I don't know
Adidas.
What she was. I don't know what she was saying. That was kind of fucking sounded weird, but yeah.
That was, but I liked it. And you know what? Here's something else, because this is my favorite line, and I wore these jeans that I'm wearing today because I'm wearing Calvin Klein's, right?
Okay.
And they would say that Calvin Klein. Come on, where am I going? Come on, Calvin Klein's
nothing
no friend of mine. Don't want nobody's name on my behind. Be on the leg, be on the feet. J with the beat. So I'm going to Jam Master J is where I'm going to. Because Jam Master J, it's like 18 years ago he was murdered in his studio. Wow. 18 years ago, I'm like, Jam Master J, because Jam Master J was just the epitome of cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I remember growing up, you had Run DMC on stage, Jam Master J in the back, scratching and cutting, doing what he did with his Newmark mixers and 2 Techniques 1200 turntables. I'm assuming that's what he used, because back in the day when I was DJing, I had a Newmark mixer and 2 Techniques 1200 direct drive turntables. Those of you that are listening, you're like, oh, this cat knows something. He busted out the name Newmark Techniques 1200s. That's right. That was me following in the footsteps of Jam Master J, right? So it took them 18 years to get cold case. And here's the part that kind of bothers me. And I don't know if this is the case or not. I refuse to believe it, but they said he was murdered because of a drug deal gone bad. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because Jam Master J was involved with the community. He was doing all sorts of different things. But when I did my research, what they're saying is that, he made this deal with this guy named Washington, and he was going to sell 10 kilos of coke in a different state. But Jam Master J said, you're out the deal. He got a little upset, got one of his homies, got into the studio and took him out. And, so Jam Master J, not that long ago, it was, they just announced it back in, it was last month is when the case broke. The 2 gentlemen, I don't know if you want to call them gentlemen, but the 2 hitmen or the guys who took out Jam Master J, they're looking at 20 years to life is my understanding. But yeah, Jam Master J is who I decided to look at as a tribute to the guy that was instrumental in me becoming a DJ. And you see where that got me.
I do. And it was 18 years. It's funny because I moved here 18 years ago.
Oh, maybe you had something, a coincidence? I think not.
Was there any indication why the fuck it took them so long? Because this is bullshit. Like, I mean, we're still doing with Tupac. We're still dealing with Biggie. Nobody knows if fucking anything. But, I mean, he's literally killed in a fucking studio. How hard is it to fucking find that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me. So I'm like, what did you find 18 years later? Was there, like, hair? I guess that joke was just nothing. But was there, I mean, what did they find 18 years later that they didn't have access to? Did someone just finally decide to come clean?
That would probably be the only
Or did someone say, hey, is that reward that you offered 18 years ago still out there? I need some money. I mean, I don't know. Right. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, and you would think that if there was any DNA evidence they collected even before DNA was really a big popular thing, they still collected it from crime scenes and then had it, you know, just stored just in case the technology got better. So, I mean, I don't know, you know, and I you know, and I'm not going to go there. I don't understand why it took so fucking long, you know, to figure out.
Did he have cameras in his studio?
Yeah, he had cameras, and I don't get it. 18 years. I mean, yeah, it seems awfully weird to me, but who knows?
Because Jam Master Jay and Aaliyah and Left Eye all kind of passed within the same like group of years.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look it up.
No.
Look it up for me. It was in the 90s. It was like, I want to say it was like...
You're going to take a decade. That's not the same group of years. That's a decade.
No, I'm saying Aaliyah, Left Eye, and Jam Master, I think, were within like 5 years of each other. All of them. Were they not? All right, he's gonna check me real quick before I move on to my part.
So Left Eye, Lopez, right?
Yep.
Died. Left Eye Lopez died in 2002.
Okay.
Jam Master Jay
would have been
that was
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't in the 90s.
Okay, 2002.
Okay, so it wasn't in the 90s. Go ahead.
How do you spell Aaliyah? A-L-L?
No, it's A-A-L-I-Y-A-H, I think.
Aaliyah Death.
You asking Mel how to spell something?
Yeah, you know I can't do it. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to take it back, okay? I'm going to take it back. It's very rare. As a matter of fact, we may want to mark this day for you listeners, because this is probably the first time I've ever made a mistake in my life. I'm going to give you some props there because that was late 2001. So it wasn't a matter of a couple of years. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
Boom! I fucking told you. I thought it was the 90s because my memory's a little foggy, but I knew it was within the same time frame. Fuck yeah, Mel. High five to myself.
Okay, my bad.
Hell
I'm not going to say another word. I'm never going to question Mel O music.
Don't ever fucking question me again. So then we're gonna get to the super fun stuff. So the most recent death in the rock circle has been Frank Banali, and he died at 68 of pancreatic cancer. He was the drummer for Quiet Riot. And the reason why Quiet Riot was such a big deal is because before metal became a thing and we came out of disco, and then we had, disco came out, then we had a punk scene for a hot minute, then we kind of went into metal, and then that kind of spurred off with the New York Dolls and Motley Crue into the glam metal and the hair metal and all that kind of stuff. But Quiet Riot was the first metal band to ever make it to number one.
Really?
So
with what? Come on, feel the noise.
Absolutely. And it was the cover of Slade. It was a Slade song, the original. And when the record company was like, "Hey, you guys should do this cover of Come On, Feel the Noise" by Slade, they're like, "Yeah, no, we don't want to do that." They did it. They ended up going to number one. That was their freshman album, and it was Mental Health. And then off of that, they had Metal Health as well. And so they were the very first metal group to ever hit number one. But the thing that I found, and just a tiny bit more on Frank Banali, he was well known in the music industry. He's played with Wasp, Faster Pussycat, Billy Idol, Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads before he passed away, of course. But the thing that's so interesting is that when we're talking about musicians making money in the 80s and 90s, versus even probably halfway into the 2000s, we're not talking about them making a fuck ton of money like how they do now. And, with our last podcast that we just dropped with Rick from Adelita's Way, he talked a little bit about how the payback on those contracts work. And so this guy who had, been around for decades, played through a lot of different metal bands, had to have a GoFundMe page created.
What?
Yeah.
When he died?
Yeah,
But
when
it's
he
very expensive. Oh.
when he died, because like I said, when we're talking about rappers like Run DMC didn't make nearly as much as Snoop made, and Snoop doesn't make nearly as much as Drake makes. You know what I mean? So it's like as we move
Right.
through and things are different. So when you're looking at Run DMC's, and we've talked like the Flavor Flavs and stuff, they weren't pulling down huge amounts of money back in the day, and so this poor guy who's well known in the music industry and runs in all these circles ends up dying of cancer, and they have to do a GoFundMe page. And so that,
Wow.
yeah, which is sad, is really
Yeah.
sad. So I wanted to talk about two different things that you guys can do to prepare for life events, and it's not a happy subject, but it's something that we haven't covered on this podcast, and you need to know that they are out there. So one of the things is that being in the fact that Frankie died of pancreatic cancer, there are cancer policies out there that you can get from insurance brokers. Typically, people who you can get them through your employer sometimes, or maybe whoever does your car insurance can hook you up with the cancer policy. I don't do, as an investment advisor, I don't do cancer policies unless there's some type of clause that's added on an investment type life insurance product. But they are out there, and they're important to know, because as we see cancer, more strands of cancer pop up, and we have more and more people getting affected by cancer and pass away. And cancer's super fucking expensive, you guys. My grandma had 2 different types of cancer at the same time, which is a rarity, apparently. She had breast cancer and lung cancer, but they were 2 different cancers. They weren't cancers that were the same and then spread. It was literally 2 different types of cancers formed in her body. She beat them both, thank God, a number of years ago. And actually in 2017, she beat it, because that was the same year that Jesse passed away. So my grandma recovered from cancer, and then I lost my best friend at the same year. So it was bittersweet. So when we're looking at cancer policies, sometimes you can have them offered as employee benefits, or you might have to go find the policies on your own. And what they're designed to do is, in the event, obviously, just like they sound, in the event that you become diagnosed with cancer, they are designed to help offset some of those costs that are associated with it. Some of the cancer policies can also cover heart attack or stroke, which is also, if you have a heart attack that lands you in the hospital for a number of days and or has a longer recovery, or a stroke of some sort where, you're not going to be able to work, you need to have income coming in, because bills are still coming in, and, creditors don't give a fuck if you don't feel good or not. And some of them go as high as covering you up to age 89, which is, for a lot of policies of this nature, that's actually pretty good. And some of them will pay you out a lump sum at the initial diagnosis, because usually when you're first diagnosed with cancer, that's when you have to make some really quick decisions and go right into treatment. And so you need to get, your financial shit straight before you really start getting hit with a lot of the costs associated with this. Some of them will cover experimental treatments, which is always nice when you're dealing with something like, in this instance, cancer related, where, you want to live, right? So any possible way that you can try to live, experimental treatments, some of them doesn't cover them, some of them do, and so that's obviously a very good thing for you to know, to look for. Some of them will exclude pre-existing conditions. So if you've had, maybe you were diagnosed with breast cancer a number of years ago, and then you try to get a cancer policy, some of them will go, okay, you had cancer, breast cancer, you beat it, but we're still not going to cover you for it if it comes back. And so obviously then it's kind of like, well, what the fuck am I doing the policy for? And sometimes they'll help you actually cover your bills, like mortgages, not just specifically for medical costs. And then some of the policies will actually reduce after the age of 65. And so these are all things you need to look at when you're looking at a cancer policy. And with the cancer policies, if your employer offers it, sometimes they are actually transferable. So what happens when you have an insurance through your employer? If in the event that you leave that employer, you can't take that insurance in most cases. However, cancer policies, some of them can be transferable. So if you end up leaving your employer, not only do you get to take your 401k as far as the money that you've put in and any money you might have vested, but you can actually transfer with you some of these cancer policies so you can keep them in place and then start paying the deductibles, not out of your paycheck, but out of your actual bank account. And some of them have waiting periods to start, and some of them have restrictions at the age of application. But the good news is, with cancer policies, they're fairly low premiums. And the reason why is, quite frankly, because even though cancer is prevalent, when you're looking at a mortality table, it's less probable. It's less probable versus other things. So the premiums are nice and low. We've talked about the real numbers on this podcast multiple times when it deals with insurance companies. So, if you do have a concern or cancer runs in your family, it might be something that you want to look at. And then the very last one is I didn't realize how much it was hitting home for me until I started researching. So I lost a very good friend of mine who I've known for 15 years, and she was married to her husband for, or maybe they were married 15 years and I've known her 17. I'm not really sure, but he was literally 7 months younger than me. He passed away at the beginning of January, so just a unexpectedly great way to kick off 2020. And I was over there helping her try to go through and put the funeral expenses together. And I don't know if any of you guys have buried anybody recently, but to bury somebody, there's a song by Van Halen with Sammy Hagar off of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, I think it's called In and Out. And it sounds sexual, but it's actually not. They're talking about how expensive it is to be born and how expensive it is to die. But when I was getting the figures together for the actual funeral costs, we were in for a basic funeral with a very well-known mortuary here in town. We were looking at $25,000.
Really?
Yes. And
put me in a cardboard box.
So right, that's what everybody says, but you can't actually do that. So let me set the scene for you. And my friend doesn't listen to the podcast, so she's never going to hear this, but I come over to her house. She's in shock. They found him dead unexpectedly, and she doesn't know if he has insurance. She doesn't know what he has through his employer. She doesn't know what happened. All she knows is that she kissed him goodnight, and then he's dead the next morning. And now she's sitting there, and I'm on the phone, and I'm calling, and the coroner had left, and everybody was just kind of sitting there. And now I'm like, but I'm into like damage control mode. So I'm calling and I'm getting figures and I'm writing detailed notes. And this same thing happened. I had a client who committed suicide a number of years ago, and I was called and I was asked to go over there, and I was actually there when his body was taken out with the family. And it depending on how they pass away, there's also hazard cleanup. So if somebody has a rather messy death, whether it's a suicide or any type of murder scene, you have to actually pay to have somebody come out and clean that scene up. And that is going to run you about $1,250 to $1,500 just to have that part done. And it's, at least in Vegas, there's only one company that will actually come out and do that and clean up the human the human remains of, as far as to on a biohazard level. So
there's actually more than one now.
Oh, is there? Oh, that's right. Yeah. So Zoe, this is great. I brain farted. So Zoe has, for a number of years now, has volunteered with trauma intervention program with TIP and here in Las Vegas. And when I go through all this stuff, if there's anything I forget, please add it on, Zoe. And so that was very traumatic. But my very dear friend, and obviously I was friends with her husband for a long time, I'm over there and, she wants to do the world for him. And I'm like, okay, I understand you want to do the world for him, but you don't really know how much money you have yet. Your income is completely changed. Like, I understand you want to honor your loved ones, but we need to be really smart about this. And his family was pretty pissed at me, to be honest with you, because they thought that somehow I was saying that he shouldn't be getting XYZ. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm fucking telling you is that she needs to live now, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys need to be thinking of before, I understand it's fresh, it's raw, and you want to, give the world for them. But there's a whole fucking fuck ton of stuff that they actually charge you for. So there is this thing that they're burial policies, but they're more commonly referred to as end-of-life policies, where basically you can actually buy, and it's like a whole life policy. Well, it is a whole life policy, and it's designed that in the event that you pass away, that money is going to help straight for your burial. So in the state of Vegas, in the city of Vegas, the numbers that I've got, and I don't know if Zoe has more information on this later, they can range about anywhere from $7,000 to $25,000, depending on if you want to be buried or depending on if you wanted to be cremated. And so these are some of the services that are actually things that funeral homes charge for. And a lot of times what happens is that if you have a family member pass away, you don't know if there's any insurance coming. And quite frankly, the insurance companies aren't going to pay out any of the insurance benefits until after a death certificate is issued. And the death certificates, at least in the state of Nevada, typically take 14 business days before you get them. And then you have to go through the death processing package with the actual insurance company before you even get released the funds, which means that you got to pay for all this shit up front. And you're down in income. You still have all the bills coming in. You have to notify all the creditors. It's a lot of fucking trauma that goes in to having to plan for somebody's funeral expenses. So here are some of the costs that you need to be aware of. Viewing and burial. Those are costs associated with that. There's basic service fees that they have as far as just with admin and things like that. Transporting the remains to a funeral home. So there's the funeral home that is up that day, right, Zoe? Like they rotate through.
There's two there's two that contracted with the coroner's office, and depending on the date, they rotate each day. So yes.
And they come and pick up the body and then transport them. So your loved one passes away in, let's say, the city of Las Vegas, and there's a funeral home that's up for the day. They come, they get the body.
Unless you already have arrangements and it's the coroner's investigator, who is the one that comes out on behalf of the coroner, doesn't need the body to go back to the office for further investigation.
Okay.
And then they can release it to whoever you had arrangements with. But if you don't, or the body needs to go back to their office, then they'll use one of the two that is on rotation.
Okay. And if you don't like the funeral home that's on rotation because maybe it's too far away from your house or a variety of different reasons, then you have to actually pay to have that body transported from the funeral home it went to the funeral home you want. And then the funeral home that's receiving the body is going to also charge you. So you're getting charged transportation on both sides, and you haven't done shit yet. Okay. You're just literally getting the body from point A to point B. And then, of course, there is the casket or, cardboard box or whatever you want, but there's embalming and other preparations that you have to pay for. If you want to actually have your loved one buried, there's the cemetery plot, which is not fucking cheap, you guys. Cemetery plots can run you like $7,000 by themselves, and depending on where you want it, depending on how you want it. And then you have to buy the actual monument, or the marker, the tombstone, which runs you about $500. An urn on a cremation, which we'll talk about here in a minute, for a basic urn is going to run you anywhere from $400 to $600. So a lot of people go, okay, cremation is going to be the much better way to go. Well, there's still a whole bunch of shit for that, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then, of course, flowers. And then if you want to have a pastor at the service, then you have to pay them. You're going to have to pay for the funeral home to have it. And then if you want refreshments after the funeral, whether it be, little sandwiches or just cookies and juice, well, that shit costs money too. And then if you want to have a viewing, there's a lot of religions that, kind of part of their tradition is that they have viewings of the body. Well, okay, that means that for a day, or at least for 8 hours or maybe 2 days, depending on how they do it, you have to have the body presented and accessible to people over time. That shit costs money too. So a lot of times people go, okay, well, fuck it, I'm just going to get cremated because that's cheaper. Well, yeah, that's true, but a cremation in Las Vegas can run you anywhere from $500 to $2,240. And we're still...
Wait, 5,000 to 2,000?
No, $495.
To 2,000?
To $2,240.
So what's the extra cremation? What kind of extra services you get?
Well, so here's
faster in and out service.
Well, so they do actually have emergency cremation services. They do.
And what is that like? If you poison somebody, hey, can you get it done fast?
So I don't know if there's some religions that if you're going to get cremated, or maybe it's a situation where the person sat for a long time and then was found, and maybe I'm not really sure, but they do have emergency cremation services. And so that'll run you, like I said, $495 to $2,240. And you still have to deal with the shipping of the remains. And the thing is that ashes of a person are considered hazardous material. So sometimes they'll still try to embalm the person, even though they're going to cremate them. And I mean, I don't really know good, bad, or indifferent of that. To me, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's something that I have found with my clients who've had people pass away, that's one of the things that they were offered was an embalming for the cremation. And so I just lost my notes. Here we go. And so you are considered hazardous material. So if you decide that you want to be buried in the ground in an urn with your ashes, you need to have a cement box built around you, which usually runs you about $500. Unfortunately, I know these numbers because I just did this in January. Because the ashes of the person are considered hazardous material, then you still have a marker and or a monument. If you want to actually be put into a wall and, have people come and visit you, that runs you, the estimates that I got, about $7,000 to $10,000 to have a little box and a wall and with a plaque that says, hey, here lies me or whatever. The urn, like I said, can run you about, $400 to $600 depending on how saucy you want it to be. The actual cremation itself has a price that's associated with it. And then there is body prep. And I don't know specifically what the body prep is for to get somebody ready for cremation. But there is still body prep that's involved in that. And then the container that they put you in to get cremated. So and I don't know if that would be like a cardboard box or a wooden box or whatever. Again, like we talked about, rush cremation, miscellaneous services, the venue, the service, the food and beverages for the kitchens, the kitchen and use and things like that. And so when you're dealing with somebody who, from a financial standpoint, Zoe can tell us about the emotional trauma, but I go into financial mode. So when you're dealing with somebody who's lost a loved one, like I said, they're going to want to do everything in the world to honor their loved one because they're hurting so bad at that point that they just want to do everything that they can. And from a financial perspective, as much as I sound like a bitch, that is not the right thing to do. You need to try to get an idea of how much assets you have at your disposal. If you have a case where you have the primary income earner died and he or she made a lot of money, you automatically have the surviving spouse now has a very, very short time frame before all of a sudden all the bills that they've both acquired as a couple is now still coming due, but on one less insurance, one less income. And so I tell my clients, I'm like, look, let's think about this. Don't be fucking going crazy and committing to a whole bunch of shit because you got to float all this in the first place and you don't even know if the insurance out there is going to cover it. And so that's why you see a lot of people buying end of life policies. So is there anything that I missed or you wanted to add, Zoe, on that?
Just a couple of things. The biohazard cleanup, which can even be needed for natural deaths if the body has obviously been left there for not been found for a few days. There are multiple companies now in Vegas and Henderson that do that. So shop around. But actually, homeowners insurance or renters insurance can cover that cost. So that's something to bear in mind.
That's good to know.
So that is good to know. And also by law, when you're coming to try and find a mortuary to do whatever it is that you decide, they have to give you the price over the phone. So definitely, like you had to do, call around. And there are other options besides your bog standard cremation and burial now. That there are a couple of new things. I'm trying to think, I can't remember, but there are other companies in town that provide different ways of, now I don't know how to put it, disposing of bodies other than the traditional way. And there's always donating your body to science, and there are other ways other than that. But yeah, without doubt, it can be a costly experience, and it's definitely something that the family's not emotionally ready to deal with, but have to deal with. And what was that else was going to say? Oh, the only other thing is that they're not charged twice for the body to be moved. The coroner's office pays for the body to be taken for one trip. Do you see what I mean?
Okay, so from the actual site of death, basically, but then any more movement at that point.
Yes, yes. So, you're not double charged, but you will. Transporting the body is another issue. And then also, if you want the body to be buried in another state, that's a whole other issue, transporting the body by airplane. And, there's so much to think about that if you haven't either prepared a will, which we've talked about before, about how you want, think about how you want your body to be dealt with. If you haven't either talked about that with your family or put your wishes in writing, then that's a big responsibility for your family to have to deal with. So it's really good idea to make your wishes known somewhere, and to have an end of life policy, because it is. The one other thing I was going to say is that people, the state does help people with funeral costs if they are low income, but that's the only other thing that I wanted to just mention.
And the last thing I'll mention on that I've seen a lot of times with clients is that they're married, they buy 2 funeral plots next to each other. Then what happens is they get divorced, and then maybe they get remarried.
Oh,
this happens all the time, you guys. They get remarried and then they die. And then they're like, well, she doesn't want to be married or buried next to him forever, and vice versa. Or I want him to be buried next to me, blah, blah, blah. And so shit gets really, really weird, because the deal is that, believe it or not, funeral plots are an asset. I have clients who have funeral plots, a lot of them in the Hollywood Cemetery. And they were bought way back a long time ago, and they've been in the family, and people have been, using them, but some people haven't, because some people are like, I don't want to fucking get buried there. But that is a fucking hot commodity. The Hollywood Cemetery, where all those people are buried, that's a big deal. So when you're looking at funeral plots, that shit is an asset, and it can appreciate, you guys. So, heads up on that. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's nuts. And so that's part of a financial plan. So anyway, on that depressing note, we will close out this episode. I'm sorry, I keep coughing my balls off right now. I'm never going to get rid of this cough. Obviously, it's been since July. But we thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on Finances, the Other F Word. Please check out our YouTube channel, which I am trying to get back up and running and get things added to. If you are interested in supporting the podcast in any way, you can buy merchandise from our website, or you can always become a patron on Patreon with FTOFW, 4 levels we have there. Make sure you pick up Finances, the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love on Amazon. Make sure you pick up Stormy's book, The World's Best Buyer Persona System. And of course, follow Lily Lou Mittens on Instagram. And we will see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.